guys, welcome to In the Field, where we're bringing you professionals from across a variety of environments, asking those questions. How is psychology being used in the field? Today I'm very privileged to be joined by Phil Akers, who is a PGA senior golf instructor at the Belfry. So do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about your role and what you do?
Yeah, so my role is quite, so I suppose, multifaceted here at the Academy. So I teach a lot of junior golfers, a lot of elite golfers as well, some professionals. The mindsets in which we're trying to create with these different golfers changes, be from say a 6-year-old to what we might get with say like a player that wants to be out on tour and so on. So knowing how to adjust that and how to actually speak to your client and motivate that type of person is a huge thing in the role that I'm sort of doing, and that's how knowing different parts of psychology is really important with it, you know?
Yeah, fantastic. And as you said at the start of this video, we're asking those questions. So, to you, Philip, how are you using psychology within your role?
Okay, so within psychology and my role, I think that an awful lot of this is motivating people to actually want to learn and how to learn with a lot of this as well. A lot of people don't actually understand, and if you walk down a driving range, you'll see people just bashing golf balls down there one after another, and you know what, it's boring. They hit sort of 27 irons in a row to the same target and don't really get any feedback. They're never under any pressure, and their emotional arousal levels are never actually changing like what they will down at the golf course. So they think that they've got it on the driving range, but you know what, because it's so far out of context with it, that really they get on that first tee, they've got a little bit more pressure on them, that ball's not on a flat lie, the wind's in a different direction, it's a different club, and before you know it, they sort of panic and they don't know what to do. And I feel like that transition between range to course is a really important thing. We're getting people to practice better and actually getting them to understand a bit about the psychological sort of constraints that they're going to be faced with out on the golf course as well. So we've got a few different types of practice. So when people are learning something, or when people are sort of like looking for confidence, we've got a practice which is known as block practice, which is more repetitive. A little bit like what you'd probably see down the driving range, where people are just shelling a ball one after another. But block practice, I think it's a little bit different to that proper block practice and proper deliberate practice with that, where people need to get feedback. They should be seeing things, they should be getting feedback from their coaches, they should be feeling things, whereas a lot of people just do this block practice of just hitting one ball after another and not actually getting any of that feedback as well. So they're not really learning. Okay? So let's say that we took, I don't know, someone, their club head, they know they've gone to a lesson and they're striking upwards on the ball. Their angle of attack is upwards, and they know that they want that to become downwards. So we might teach them some ideas and so on of how to change that, some different concepts. Even using something like that, you should be able to strike the ball without striking the mat before. And so we might do some block practice with that, where they might do repetitions, maybe let's say 10 shots with a 7-iron, where they start to be able to do that with this there, and they get that feedback that they're actually doing it correct. But then what we want to do, we want to start to transition to be able to do that without, say, your stabilisers in the way, or without your drills in the way, and doing that with different clubs and to different targets. And that's more variable, more random, like what you're going to get out of the golf course. And that's actually way better for you to retain that information, and it makes your learning process a lot more robust. And that's going to be an awful lot more like what you're going to find out on the golf course. Then eventually we want to start doing this and putting you actually under some pressure with it. So if you're ever down the driving range and you say you've got your little things that you're working on, be it your angle of attack or something, you then want to be able to maybe say play against your partner, maybe put some constraints out there and be like, right, my divot's got to start after the ball or whatever, otherwise you earn that point. If I can do it after I gain that point, you know what, first one to 5 points owes the other, loser owes a beer or something like that, okay? So that little bit of pressure on it is a lot more like the situations you're going to find out on the golf course. And you can make lots of different constraints, it doesn't just need to be against someone. But, you know, that's how I like to see people practicing, where they're transitioning from that blocked practice, doing something over and over, to being a little bit more variable, to actually being able to have that variability and perform under pressure as well with it.
Fantastic. And what I really like about what you've just said there is that there's a clear journey from starting this to block practice, where, okay, it's very repetitive and there's not much thought process behind it and feedback. So and then it moves forward into being more variable and actually almost second nature for
confidence with that, but ultimately we want to get to this position where you sort of don't have to think an awful lot about it. I think a lot of people muck up for that bit because they don't do a lot of the hard work before the shots that they hit. So having a clear process before shots is a huge part of it. And you know, some people do like to work with swing thoughts. You know, like 1 or 2 swing thoughts, having like little checks and stuff to commit to. But equally, you've got other golfers where they prefer to have like that freedom and flow, where they're not thinking about anything. That might not thinking about nothing, they might be thinking about rhythm or commitment or something like that, rather than actual technical positions and really intrinsic things, which positions I think are a dangerous thing to be focusing on when trying to get to that stage of learning. If you think about when you learn how to drive a car, at first you had to think about changing the gear and how your foot went down on the clutch and then onto the accelerator, etc. But when you drove here today, because you've been driving for a while, you've sort of got that unconscious competence where you can just do it, you can just go. And normally we perform better at that if you start to think then again about how your foot goes down on the clutch and how you change the gear in there. It actually screws up your timing and your rhythm and stuff like that. And we find that a lot with golfers. Once you do start to get that unconscious competence, go with it, trust it, and you know, you can use things such as TrackMan and sort of like playing against your friends and that to see if you can hit shots under that pressure without many swing thoughts, and if that performance still holds up. If it doesn't, then you maybe have to step back a little bit to them different learning phases and doing it a bit more, as it were, until ultimately we get there. But some people never get there, you know. You still look at Tiger Woods, still look at Rory McIlroy, they're still checking positions, they're still making sure it's right, they've still got thoughts and feelings that they're trying to achieve, you know. So I think drills are a really good thing when you're down the driving range to actually get feedback. If you can't get feedback from drills, do it from your coach, send them videos over. I mean, I have about 15 students a night which will ping me emails over, ask me questions, just so they know that what they're doing is right. It reaffirms in their head that what they're doing is correct, so they can commit to it. Often people come into lessons and just automatically think that they're doing everything wrong, but you won't be. You'll be doing some stuff really good, okay? So having a bit of confidence in yourself on that bit is a huge thing in psychology, actually backing yourself. If you think of Ian Poulter stepping onto the first tee, it's not necessarily that he's got the best technique or anything, but he backs himself, because he knows that he does some stuff better than others.
Really, from that point of view there, the real take-home messages are develop yourself some drills, but also make it unique to yourself.
Absolutely, yeah, massive with that.
Yeah, make it unique to yourself, understand your game a little bit more, but put yourself into pressurised situations. Thank you very much for tuning in, thank you very much for I've learned a lot there about practice. I'm going to try and take some of it onto the range with me. But if you've got any questions for Phil, I'll put his details in the slide next. But thank you very much for tuning in.